What's up, New Hope family? Welcome to episode 19 of the show with no name.
Apparently, it's the sporty
it is.
episode.
Well, yeah, with me as always is Pastor Leo. Hello, Pastor Leo.
Kumusta, everyone?
Pastor Leo clearly misunderstood what sports opening day today is. It is baseball.
I misunderstood the assignment.
But I'm never going to get upset about what I believe would be a Dante Culpepper jersey. Is that correct?
Is.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I'm
Dante.
not going to get upset about a Vikings jersey ever, but it is opening day. So I have my Kansas City Monarchs uniform on.
Yeah.
But I also have my Twins sweatshirt on underneath.
Why?
Well, so, excuse me. I don't think anybody really wants to know this story, but they're going to get it anyway. The Kansas City Monarchs were a team in the Negro Leagues, which was before baseball integrated. And they're my favorite team from that period in history. So many all-time great stars played for them. Buck O'Neil, Jackie Robinson, Satchel Paige.
Whoa.
One of my favorites of all time.
Those are big names.
Excuse me. So, yeah, they were pretty sweet. So I have a fantasy baseball team that I've had since college. We started a league in college, and we still do it, and it's really nerdy and fun. And I named my team after the Monarchs.
Oh, okay.
And so Joanna bought me this jersey. It's like a handcrafted... it's from a company called Ebbets Field Flannels, and they make like old school uniforms by hand the way they used to be made. And she bought this for me a few years back, and I usually wear it on opening day. But I also couldn't not wear Twins stuff on opening day because they're my favorite team. So happy opening day to those of you listening when opening day was like a week and a half ago to you who are listening.
That's so true.
Sorry about that. Maybe not quite. I guess there's more like a week.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's
this one's
going to
out
be
next week. So this isn't that far. I don't know what you're doing wearing a Vikings jersey.
Because everything
like
for
being
me is
sad
like
today?
Purple because I brought some food.
That's right. And we're gonna get to Judges here in a minute, continuing our study in Judges. Which, by the way, good time to pause us right now if you haven't read yet. Judges 8 through verse.
Now pause it when he's about to take a bite.
Let me
And then take a
I'm
screenshot of it and send it to
I stumbled over my words. We're in Judges 8, starting from the beginning of Judges 8, going through Judges 10, verse 5. So if you haven't read that yet, pause us quick, go read that, come back. Because Leo brought some food.
Yes.
And I love when Leo brings food.
It's bread with an ube filling.
I love both of those things. I love bread and I love ube. Now, the one thing I don't always love is filling. Is like how thick is the filling in here? Because sometimes that throws me off. There's just like a bunch of fillings.
It's just like bread.
This almost seems more like a donut.
Yeah, something like that. It has black sesame seeds.
Are you still dieting?
Yes,
So
that's
you won't
yours.
Be joining me? It smells wonderful. Did you make this?
Andy did. Baked just
shout
a
out to Andy.
couple hours ago.
Love you, Andy. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
There we go. All right, you want me to talk? Can't got your tongue?
Ube.
No, ube got your
my
tongue.
I still don't understand what ube is.
It's a root
I don't want to
crop.
know.
It's a root crop. It's like
I love it.
potatoes or sweet potatoes.
I don't think I ever want to see what it looks like because I love it so much.
If
and
you've
it's
seen
horrifying
yam,
looking.
it's
it's like a yam.
Uh-huh.
Why is it so tasty?
I have no idea.
Yams are not very tasty. All respect to those of you who love yams. Man, yeah, that's really good. There's some sort of like sugary glaze on the top of it as well.
And he put a little bit of sugar on top.
I'm not upset about it. Is ube always eaten? Because the only way I've ever had it to this point is in a sweet form.
Right.
Is it the only way it's ever consumed?
It's for the most part, yes, because we add it as flavoring to desserts for the most part. Like you don't find a lot of ube stuff in like dishes that you eat for main course or something like that. So,
it'd be like in the South with yams.
Yep.
Where they're usually sweet.
That's true.
Interesting. Well, thank you. Does this have a name, or is it just bread with ube filling?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the bread with ube. It's really good.
That's good.
I'm gonna have to.
It's yours.
I'm gonna have to before we leave, which we haven't really discussed here, but most people are probably aware at this point, but maybe not. I don't know. My family and I are moving away. Before we do, I'm gonna need to get some some recipes
Oh,
from you and Andy.
of course.
Because I'll no longer have you close by to make me all of these foods.
List your favorites, and then we'll give you the recipes.
I love this idea. All right. Shall we?
And then we'll have an episode where we just discuss recipes.
Love this idea. Well, just an extra.
It's a cooking show.
Episode.
We'll have Andy come here.
We've talked for years about doing some sort of cooking show with Hattie.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll have Hattie and Andy
Yep.
do a cooking show.
Oh,
no justification for why we would
what's
waste
that
time
show?
doing this.
There's that show where a celebrity tries to Selena Gomez, and then she tries to cook based on some recipes, and we'll try that. We'll have Andy dictate what Hattie's gonna do.
Okay, I like this
and
idea.
see how
Hattie does as a Filipino baker.
Yep.
This is a great idea. This was an on-air production meeting that you all got to be a part of.
There you go.
All right, shall we get into judges?
Yes,
And I have
we shall.
5 more of these to consume, so I'm just going to sit quietly.
There's
for
a
about
lot more
25
at home
minutes.
too. So
That's good. It's good for you guys. All right, again, we're in Judges 8 through Judges 10, verse 5. So read that if you haven't yet. But Pastor Leo, if you wouldn't mind giving us a quick summary of kind of what we're going to be learning about here.
So what we're going to see in this episode is that because sin is an internal problem, and because we can't solve it by changing our external circumstances, because it's internal, then it only goes to show that we can't save ourselves, hence our need for a savior.
Just a real quick note in case you watch us and you're wondering why I'm always on my phone while we're podcasting. I have the Bible on my phone.
He's just addicted to
I'm
his
not playing
phone.
games
Yep.
or on social media. But I wanted to say that just in case you're listening and you're like, oh, like I have to go find my Bible. No, just download the YouVersion app.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep, it
And,
is an amazing app.
There's an insane number of different versions of the Bible that you can get.
There are even Tagalog versions of it.
Are there really?
Yeah.
Hold on real quick.
Now you got to read a verse now in Tagalog.
All right. How do I even find that? There's 72 English versions. I guess I should search. TAG? No.
TAGA.
That's not coming up in mine.
I have it on mine.
Yeah, tell me what. Oh, wait, language. Here we go. I got to change
Okay.
the language to Tagalog. Now I'm real concerned I'm not going to be able to get it back to English, but thankfully you're sitting next to me here. Come on, Tagalog. Where are you at? Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
It's all the way down.
Oh, it's
Because
not
you got
real
to
high up. Huh?
scroll.
Maybe I'm at the bottom. Is it written? You guys use our letters, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure here. I can't find. Just pull up Judges 8 for me on yours in Tagalog, and I will read a
Sure.
verse and offend all of our friends in the Philippines. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, they'll love it.
I found the Hmong one. German. Oh, there, Filipino.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Oh, it's Filipino, not Tagalog.
Oh my. Okay.
Okay, good luck.
Oh boy. I'm going to read Judges 8 verse 1, which Judges appears to be. This is correct, right?
Yes.
Okay. Judges appears to be. Is the M silent in that? Mga hukam.
Mga.
Mga hukam.
There we go.
All right. Verse 1. Pagkatapos pumunta kay Gideon. That one's easy. I got that one. Gideon ang. Oh man, you just told me how to say this one and I already forgot.
Mga.
Mga. Whoa. Kalalakihan. Ing Ephraim. Bakit mo kami
Oh, NG is nang.
ginanito? Nang? Nang. Okay. Bakit hindi mo kami tinawag bago ninyo? That's a Spanish word. Lusubin ang mga Midianitas. Pagalit nilang tanang. Nailed it. You're welcome.
And all the Filipinos
And I'm so sorry.
are rolling on the floor laughing.
I think we can officially agree, Leo better at English than I am at Tagalog.
You know what? How about this? For every Filipino dish that you ate, you got to read one verse.
No. No, we don't have time.
Okay.
So let's dive in. Let's start with Judges 8.
All
We're
right.
still hanging out with Gideon. We're still hanging out with Gideon. So what are we going to learn from Judges 8 here as we kind of watch Gideon hunt some people down and talk some people off the ledge, I guess, here at the beginning.
Okay, so I am in the mood for alliteration. I got that pastor sickness.
Is that because I was speaking in Tagalog fluently, and you're like, wow, that was so great?
So we're gonna start what we learned from this chapter with an alliterations. With it's gonna be 6 words, all starting with a D. The first one,
of course it is.
Of course it is. Very pastor sickness kind of thing. Okay, so we're gonna start with verses 1 to 3. The key word here is dissension.
Ooh.
So the tribe of Ephraim is annoyed because Gideon did not ask them to join in the battle from last chapter.
Yeah, and as you just heard me read in perfect Tagalog with no accent at all.
Right.
Like it emphasized, like they accused him fiercely is how my translation says it. They're like really, really upset. They're not just kind of like annoyed. Like this is a potential significant problem that's arising.
It's like, we are not happy.
Like, settle down.
And so Gideon calms them down by humbling himself. He's like saying, he's saying like, you got the Midianite officers, you got Oreb, you got Zeb, and what did we do? All we did was just shout, light some torches.
Yeah.
So,
obviously this shows Gideon's leadership, but it also shows how easily manipulated the tribe of Ephraim was, because clearly he's the one who won the day and the glory and everything. Well, obviously God got the glory, but he, he's the name that. But he's like, we didn't even do anything. It was all you guys. And they're like, you're right, it was.
Yep.
It was
they were
us.
like, you know what? You put it that way. Yeah, that's right.
But when he knew he was dealing with people that were struggling with pride. Mm-hmm. And so he just fed into their pride and solved the problem.
It's like, you guys are the great ones. You got the big ones. You got the big wigs.
All right, what's our second alliterated word?
All right, so for verse 4 to 9, the key word here is disdain. So the leaders at Succoth and Penuel treat Gideon and his 300 men with disdain. So they refuse to give 300 exhausted men any help because they were still after Zebah and Zalmunna. Those are officers too, and could have been one of the reasons I'm thinking, the way I see it, one of the reasons why they don't want to give any kind of help is because they were afraid of retaliation just in case they don't succeed. Yeah. And then these two, it's like, you know what? They helped them. Let's wipe them out too. So Gideon threatens the vengeance on them when he succeeds. He's like, you know what? I'm going to wipe you out since you did not help us.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes into detail in what he's going to do too, which is
we're not going to go into the detail.
But go read verse 7 if you want to hear exactly what he's going to do to them once he catches those guys. Right. Which, spoiler alert, he ends up catching them.
He does.
So not a great time to be a part of those areas. But yeah, that was pretty common in those days. Like if you were smaller and not involved in a conflict, but then that conflict is forced upon you and you have to pick. Like, it's not a great decision to have to make.
That's
where
true.
You're like, one of them's going to win, and if we pick the wrong one, this is not going to go well for us.
That's true.
Fortunately, they weren't smart enough to pick the one who God was on the side of.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this happens to be supposedly his people. But then again, alrighty.
Next word.
Okay. Verses 10 to 21, the key word is determination.
That's a better word than the first two. Dissension and disdain are kind of bummers. So determination's a little better.
So Gideon and the 300 are victorious. And God wanted to show that they would be victorious because of him and not the army. And he did it. Remember, we talked about this before. God said, I'm going to show you that it was because of me. And he did it. So could be this could be the reason why he cut the 32,000 down to 300, because lack of determination would cause a larger army to give up or turn on him. It's like, you know what? We can't catch them. They're too good at hiding and everything. I give up. I quit. And then, that kind of thing, it's very catching. Like when you see someone give up, you start feeling bad about it, and then you give up, and then the next person beside you does the same thing. Or they would even turn on him. It's Like, you know what? You're not leading well. We can't catch them. We're just going to go against you. So that could be the reason. Or, remember, one of the things that they had problems with was because they can't get any kind of sustenance. So a larger army equals greater resources to maintain. So that could be a reason why. So as promised, Gideon takes his vengeance. He kills Zebah and Zalmunna himself, and the thing that he promised, he did it.
Yeah, I want to talk about that though. This is in my notes for a question that I had. So he tries to get his son to kill him first, and his son's too afraid to do it. He's very young and doesn't want to kill people yet, apparently, which is understandable. It specifically says he was a young man. He was afraid to do this.
Yes.
So Gideon does it, and then it specifically talks about the crescent ornaments that he took off the necks of the camels that belonged to those guys. Like, why is that in there? Like, what's the purpose for me knowing that he took the crescent ornaments that were on the necks of their camels? Why do you think that's included?
We'll find out later. Dun, dun, dun.
Because that, like, things like that pop up as I'm reading. And like, obviously, yes, I did get to where we find out later. But when I'm reading it, because I feel like sometimes I don't. For instance, like, I don't know. We don't need to go deep into it. But usually there's a purpose for why things are in there. And that's one of the ones that, as I'm reading, I got to that verse and I have a note in here about it, because I'm like, what are we doing? Why are there ornaments on camels? This is not part of the Gideon story that I remember. But yeah, I just found that interesting. All right, get us to the next one here.
All righty. The next one is deviation. So verse 22 to 28, we talk about a time of peace. So after everything, after taking his vengeance and killing Zebah and Zalmunna, there comes a time of peace. Gideon starts well. The people talk to him and they request, can you rule over us? Remember, the request is rule over us, not lead us, not be a judge. They're asking him to rule. So we're starting to see Israel become influenced by the nations around them.
Is this the first time we see that? Like,
yeah,
they don't use the word king here, but essentially they're saying become our king. Is this the first time we see that request?
For the most part, yes. This is the first recorded instance of them asking for a ruler, not really a leader.
Yeah.
So they refused to drive away the nation.
He's very George Washington here. You know, like, the nation is like, you and your generations can basically be king.
Right.
And much like George Washington, they didn't quite have a democracy at this point in time.
That's true.
Theirs was better. Like, they're trying to just be led by God. So
yes.
That's even better. But that's what I thought of when he does like I won't rule over you, my son won't rule over you. Like, oh, that's like when we tried to make Washington our king. And he's like, I don't really like kings.
Yep. I don't like kings. I don't want to be a king. So that's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, like you said, that's a very good start for Gideon.
It starts well. So one of the things that we learn from this is something that we talked about before. It's almost always a slow process. We don't end up in a mess because of just one decision. Israel is evidently in the middle of that wrong turn already. They're now asking for a ruler instead of just a leader, because everybody around us has a ruler. So Gideon, however, sadly, he starts making mistakes, and he makes a very big mistake. Remember those ornaments? So he gathers all of them and he makes an ephod. What is an ephod? It is a type of garment that is worn by the high priest. Remember, high priest. So the ephod is for the priesthood. It's those things with, like, has gems on them. If you've seen,
fancy.
Yep, really fancy
and that's
stuff.
why he took all the gold earrings and stuff. You imagine he was probably covered in a lot of gold.
That's right. So the ephod is for the priesthood, which Gideon is not. So also, there had been many instances when the ephod was abused. Let's talk about them. First, 1 Samuel 19. Saul, the king, went to a witch to seek guidance from the spirit of the dead prophet Samuel. The witch used the ephod like a Ouija board to talk to the spirit of Samuel. Turns out it wasn't. Second, In 2 Kings chapter 23, the ephod was placed in the temple of a false god, which is a form of idolatry. So it has a very big chance of being abused. So I don't know why Gideon did it. I don't know why Gideon decided to make an ephod. But whatever the reason was, it had the same effect. The Bible says it, not Gideon, not anything else, became an object of idolatry. Verse 27 says, the people became unfaithful because of it. So personally speaking, that's a very horrible legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, in the ESV, in verse 27, it says, and all Israel whored after it there, and it became a snare to Gideon and to his family.
That's right.
It's aggressive language to use, but yeah, this became a real problem.
Yep. But nevertheless, Midian is defeated, and the country has peace for 40 years. So the next one, verses 29 to 32, keyword, death.
Oh, we're back to sad words.
Yes. So Gideon dies and is buried in Ophrah. Again, we see the influence of the nations. 70 sons, because he had many wives.
Yep.
So again, not a major turn in just one day. It's a slow turn, and we see the influence here. He had 70 sons because he had many wives. Having 70 wives is a good thing, right, King Solomon?
70. He wouldn't even blink an eye at 70.
Right.
He's like 70.
He's got I got a little more than that, close to 1,000. But
right.
Okay,
you got one more alliterated
verse
word for us.
33 to 35 is disobedience. So we see how fickle Israel is in their devotion to God. It says in the Bible, immediately after his death, Israel forgets God and worships Baal again. They weren't even loyal to Gideon's family. That's sad. Like you did something great for the country, and they're not even loyal to the people you leave behind. So Gideon was no inspirational hero. He wasn't a bastion of holiness and righteousness for the people of Israel. For them, he did something good, but nothing too fancy, nothing to write home about. Yeah. So, yeah.
When you see too, right, like the influence of the neighboring nations on Gideon, right, with the 70 wives and or 70 sons with all these different wives, and and he made this ephod that we learned became a snare to him and his family as well. Like, it becomes a problem. Probably some of those 70 sons weren't all following the Lord too.
That's true.
Like you said, he made plenty of mistakes on his own. So even as they seemed to turn away from his leadership as soon as he died, there was probably some of his family that was right on board with that too.
Like even his dad too.
If we remember his dad, he had to destroy his dad's idols, and so Well, chapter 9. Okay, we're gonna move on to chapter 9 now. Move on from the sad end of Gideon.
More alliteration too.
Oh, great. Great. I don't think the 5 verses in chapter 10 we're doing are long enough for you to have a bunch of alliterated words, but we'll get there. We'll find out.
Maybe I'll have 15 alliterated.
For now, chapter 9. What do you got for us, Leo?
Okay, so we're going to start with verse 1 to 6. Very happy word. Starts with M now. Massacre.
Oh.
Happy word. Okay, so again, it doesn't start well. Abimelech. Yeah. Gideon's he's not content with just 70. He has one son by a concubine by the name of Abimelech.
Yep.
And so
who ends up not being great for those other 70 sons.
That is so true.
Read in advance.
He convinces the men of Shechem to make him judge. Again, we see the influence of the nations on Israel. You want many rulers or just one? That was his challenge. Do you want many rulers or do you want just one? So,
and you hear the verse 3. Excuse me. It's like a Washington D.C. drama. Like there's all these like behind the scene, like his family's going and whispering in the ears of the leaders, and they're just all the a word you're going to use later, manipulation. But it's happening early on too. That leads to this massacre.
That's
you're about
true.
To tell us about.
It's a very political drama. This one,
yeah, political drama. That's what the word I was looking for.
Like like the West Wing. But yeah, okay. So Of course, the people agree with him. Okay,
Yeah.
we want one ruler. So what he does is then kills all of Gideon's 70 sons, except for one, Jotham.
Yeah, that's a real bummer
Mm-hmm.
to have 71 sons and have one of them kill all of them, except for one.
Yeah, except for one.
Yikes.
So that's
brutal.
Yeah. So verse 7 to 21, we then have a message. That's the key word. Jotham pronounces a prophetic curse on Abimelech and his supporters. Now, why it's long is because he talked a lot. But that's just the thing.
Well, if your entire family had just been slaughtered
Right.
by another
You're
member of your
entitled to
family, you get 14 verses
Yep.
to talk about it.
Mhm. That's okay. We'll let him rant because he had a reason to
Yeah.
rant.
And then he runs away and hides.
Yep, and then he runs away. It's like,
Which he probably learned from his dad.
that's so true.
Hiding was kind of
It's in the genes.
Yeah.
Okay, so verse 22 to 55. Manipulation. Abimelech judges for 3 years, but his monarchy was an epic fail. God caused a rift between Abimelech and the people of Shechem. But we have to note something here. If you read the verses, there's no war, there's no raid,
Yeah.
there's nothing from outsiders. This is just nothing. It's just them. It's just him and his people. No important event was recorded. Nothing happened. No world war, no earthquakes, nothing. But after 3 years, just 3 years, his leadership was already in question. If you ask me, that's very poor performance for a king.
That's not great.
Not great at all. So at this time, 2 threats to Abimelech's rule appear. The people of Shechem start becoming violently rebellious, not just rebellious, violently rebellious, and a mercenary type leader, Gaal. He starts, remember the manipulation? Abimelech started it. Yeah, now it's Gaal. He manipulates the people against Abimelech. So war ensues. Yay!
Yeah. I mean, usually, traditionally in history, leadership that rises to power through violence usually is taken out of power with violence.
That's so true.
It's not really a surprise. And, when Abimelech rose to power, right, he got all the people of Shechem on board with his horrific violence that he was going to do. So, yeah, it's not... What else are they going to do when they get upset with you?
That's
and
right.
you taught them, well, the way to deal with these
Yep.
problems is horrific violence.
Yep. You taught them how to do it.
Yep.
They're doing it.
And it happens.
The Bible has a word for that. Well, a sentence for that. You reap what you sow.
Yeah. I also find it interesting that Gaal, and it makes sure to tell us that Gaal wasn't from Shechem.
Yep.
He's not like one of the people that was there that was like, we got to, like, he moves into Shechem
Yep.
with his family
Yep.
and basically sees this like power vacuum and is like,
Yep.
well, I can take over here. He's not like a liberating hero that's
Nope,
like,
he's not.
He comes in and he's like, oh yeah, I can overtake this. Yeah.
This is easy peasy thing for me. So war ensues. Abimelech responds in force. He kills 1,000 people and he burns Shechem to the ground. Abimelech, however, is also killed at Thebes. With a when it happens when a woman drops a millstone on his head.
Classic.
Yeah, he got seriously injured. He wasn't dead yet, but he knew he was not in a good shape. So he orders his servant to end him. So
Because he refused to be killed by a woman.
right, because he refused to be not a woman won't kill me.
Yeah. Okay.
So you boy, kill me.
Congrats.
So it's like, yeah, good job. There you go. All right. So verse 56 to 57, keyword is memory.
Okay.
God didn't forget the evil done to Gideon's family by Abimelech and the people of Shechem. Jotham's prophetic curse came to pass.
Yep.
So the lesson here is Abimelech's story is a warning against those who seek power through unethical means. True leadership and authority come from God. So again, we talked about this many times, even during Romans. Put him first. Put God first. If you are a leader, always prioritize integrity, prioritize justice, prioritize the well-being of others.
Yeah. Most of us probably aren't going to be political leaders,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in at work, like you have a chance, you're fighting for a promotion and you have a chance to screw over a coworker who also wants that promotion with
That's
unethical
true.
reasons. Like that's how you can apply this
Yep.
to your life today. Like, yes, we're probably not going to fight a bunch of wars with our own city that we live in because
Right.
we rose to power by killing our brothers.
That's right.
But there's still like practical application that we can
Yep.
see to our lives here today. And
Like if we talked about this during like for GLS, right? If you're leading one person, you're a leader. If you're leading 5 people, you're a leader. If you're leading a family, you're a leader. If you're leading a classroom, you're a leader. It doesn't have to be like you're a leader of a nation to be a leader. And in all of those instances, this lesson applies.
Yep.
So,
need to love God and love people. And then we need to move to chapter 10.
yes.
Just for 5 verses.
Just for 5 verses.
What do you got for us in these 5 verses?
Okay, so we're going to contrast the career of Abimelech to the 2 judges that follow him, Tola and Yair.
Who get way less verses than
Yes,
Abimelech.
that's so true. That is so true. Tola is credited with rescuing Israel and leading them for 23 years. Yair follows and leads for 22 years. Now, I want you to notice something. Like in these verses, the reason why they're so short, nothing happens. It's just peace and quiet. So the lesson here, sometimes no news really is good news. Compare that to what happened. Like Abimelech got a whole chapter and it's just fun and peace, right? No. So no news really is good news. God's people need order, not heroics. They need character, not charisma. And it's something I talked about at PH, and I got it from Craig Rochelle. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. If you have a system, you don't need heroics. You don't need charisma. You have a system in place, and that system is what's going to take you through it. Integrity and consistency matters. And that's what many Christians today, they want their Christianity to be the flashy, look at me, I'm so #blessed, and all kinds of things in their life. But that's not what's gonna make you a good follower of God.
Yeah. If we look at the life of Gideon and then the aftermath, with his sons, like it's a pretty dark and terrible story. And yes, he had to rise up and do something great, right? Or God did something great through him.
Right.
But the contrast to Tola and Yair, who we know nothing about, well, I guess we know one of them had a bunch of donkeys for their kids. I think
That's it.
Was it Yair? Yeah, Yair.
Yair.
I don't know what's going on there.
It's
but,
probably, it only goes to show that it was a very prosperous time because he was able to afford donkeys.
really the only thing we know about them is that they led the people well.
Yes.
Right? Like we know that they led the people and seemingly things were fine. Because they saved Israel.
Yes.
And then that's it.
That's it.
We don't need to know all of the details, all the #blessed moments, Gideon smashing the pots with 300 people. Like, that's great that he did that.
Yep.
But whose Israel would you have rather lived in? Tola and Yair or Gideon? Because I'm picking them every single time.
Or Abimelech's.
Well, that's good because obviously Abimelech was a part of that Gideon one. So, I think that is a good message for us.
Yeah, it is. It is. Sometimes no news really is good news. Let's keep it that way, right? So, as we have seen in our run through Judges, changing our external situations, it really doesn't change our heart. And God looks at our heart. God repeatedly saved Israel from their enemies, but they didn't change. They continued to sin. They continued worshiping idols instead of God. In fact, it's gotten so bad that Israel is now, if we look at it, if we think about it, they're now no different. They're now no better than the Canaanites around them. See the influence? There it is. One bad apple, spoil the whole bunch. So now, those of us who follow God, we have experienced his salvation and are now in a relationship with him. But even so, we have no excuse for the sin in our lives. So instead of letting pride or arrogance or idolatry take over our hearts, we can continually come to God in repentance and rely only on Him for strength. So here are your head change, heart change, and life change for this episode. Head change is this: know that our sinful hearts can't be changed simply through changed actions or situations, but only through God. Our heart change: feel a longing for God to change our sinful hearts and turn it away from selfishness toward godliness. And your life change: submit our hearts, our minds, and our wills to God each day, rather than continue living for ourselves.
Got some questions for us today as well?
Yep. Here's the first one. What effect does it have on your relationship with God when you rely on your own strength? Second question. What makes self-reliance prideful? This will take a little bit of examination. Self-reliance. Why is that prideful? And the third one is, what does dependence on God look like in your life?
Yeah, we'd love to have you answer those questions in the comments of the YouTube video.
Next step.
And yeah, your next step is to keep reading.
Yeah.
We're going Judges 10, verse 6.
All the way to the end.
No, we are not doing that. We're going to go, oh boy, we're going to go from there through Judges 12, verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
So
which is the entire chapter 12.
That's so that we're reading the entire chapter 12.
Mm-hmm.
The entire chapter 12. So go read it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, did you read it? Good job. Let's start our next. No.
Yeah. Wait until next week to talk about it.
Yes. Excited for that one. I'm really enjoying. We're done with Gideon. We get to say goodbye to Gideon.
Yay. Goodbye, Giddy.
Goodbye, Gideon. We'll miss you.
Yep.
We won't miss your son nearly as much, but thank you, Pastor Leo, as always, for your teaching, for
you're welcome.
The fun that I get to have with you. This is a lot of fun. Once again, happy opening day to everybody, a week after opening day when you'll get to see this, but I'm excited about it.
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead and read those verses so that you can be with us next time. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done that yet. If you see a little red subscribe button down on the bottom there, that means you haven't subscribed yet. Click that. You'll get notified every time our new videos go live. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and subscribe there too. Same thing. You'll get go turn notifications on so you get notified when new episodes go live every single Wednesday. And then, yeah, come back next time. We love you. New Hope family. We'll see you then.
Ingat.